From an advice perspective, when we're looking at TPD, we tend to look at it with income protection because they can respond at the same time after a period of time. So from our perspective, our philosophy, when I look at it from an insurance philosophy, is income protection provides, indemnifies living expenses. So it allows the family to continue to put food on the table and all that sort of thing. The TPD is really there to pay off the debt on the home, predominantly the family home, and investment properties, probably don't really need to be indemnified, but predominantly family homes, so they have a safe space to live and they've got food on the table. And then TPD also looks after that medical or capital contingency. So
that's how you look at it when you're talking to your clients about what their needs, what their best interests are in terms of the level of cover.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we sort of use that hybrid approach of income protection meeting income needs and the TPD meeting those lump sum needs.
So how does that approach coalesce with what you've heard about so far in terms of perhaps looking towards the future?
I think it doesn't necessarily from the start address the issue with indexation and how that need then likely over time reduces. So from an advice perspective, that's our role to review the client and likely reduce cover. I think from a mental health perspective, there's a different sort of approach from a product innovation perspective, but with the way that we look at it, if I look at it from an advice perspective, we're looking to procure the most generous terms in the most cost-effective price premium over the long term. 1 and 2 for us is quite easy because we know the contracts, we have pricing tools that help with that. Number 3 is hard because of price volatility and durational discounting. And it's an obligation for us under the Code of Ethics. So, and that's where it's difficult for us to recommend products, particularly when it comes to innovative products, because that price guarantee isn't there. And there never has been a guarantee, but given the experience with price volatility in the past, we're getting these innovative products that we potentially want to look at, but with a long-term view, price has to be part of it, and it's difficult.
Okay. Okay, fine. So we're going to come to you in a minute, Eugene, but just before we do, back to you, Kristen. Do you miss offering agreed value IP contracts? And what would you like to see in the future? If I wish the life companies would do this in terms of product.
In terms of product, agreed value. I'm going to park that for a second. But from a TPD perspective, if we look at product innovation, I know there's been some new iterations of TPD. I think they're probably a little bit too far from where we are at the moment with TPD. And I'm not sure if the pricing of that reflects the difference in the benefit. Something that we've talked about in our business is particularly around mental health claims is the staging of payouts because it's difficult with subjective type conditions to, my understanding is to deem permanency of that condition after a short period of time. So do you look at stage payouts for a certain period of time? Do you only limit that to a specific definition such as any occupation? I think, and with that innovation, there needs to be a price that makes it worthwhile. Because if the current iteration is worth $100 and the new iteration is $90 a year, I mean, obviously TBD is not that, but realistically you're going to take the other one because the difference doesn't make it worthwhile to take a lesser benefit.
So staged TBD payouts based on the fact that you're permanently disabled today, but not the entire benefit paid out, but scaled over a period, graduated over a period of time.
Whether it's 5 years, 3 years, every 3 years.
Presumably the claimant has to be reassessed for permanency down the track.
Because that's my understanding is that's part of the issue with
Yep.
claims that are being paid out.
But as an advisor, you can basically sell that. You can share
It's
that.
a conversation that clients. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But it's a conversation that clients are able to easily understand the difference between what we've got now and what we could have and the price.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great, and you didn't, so
Yeah.
that's okay. Eugene.
Yeah, look, my take's a little bit different on this. I think it's as someone who works with hundreds of advisors, it's really disappointing when a regulator has to step in and basically take a product option away from consumers. And I think, and there's so many. Obviously, it's no longer, the agreed value policy not being available. It locks people that have them and need them in. They can't change now if they need to or want to. And obviously it's not available for the future. So I think that should be a very last resort. And I think if we're now talking about it with TPD, I think before you go anywhere near that, because what you said earlier about insurance being a critical part of infrastructure for society, I think we should be looking at the cause of this. Now, we all know that mental health kind of exploded when social media came on the scene. There's plenty of stats that support that. But the other part, and so maybe something needs to happen in terms of pricing, but I think the other thing that's fallen off a cliff is just new business written or new insurance being bought. And that doesn't take a genius to work out that coincided with the life insurance framework. And it's not just an issue of volume, but it's an issue of, and I'd love to hear what Matt has to say about it as an actuary, but what does it look like? What I'm seeing at a licensee level is those that are actually buying insurance, they're older, their premiums are higher. Those that are no longer getting insurance through advisors are younger people with small premiums, because it's not commercial for an advisor to help them. And particularly with younger people.
Which will then have flow-on effects for the quality of the insurance pool.
Okay,
right?
That's what I was going to, the quality of the insurance pool, right? So surely that's having a flow-on effect on claims experience. And I do hear anecdotally insurers talking about, insurance pools getting worse and worse, creating new insurance pools and then leaving those older insurance pools as they are and stuff like that. But obviously I'm not an expert. But what I see is older people that can pay bigger premiums buying insurance, obviously they're more likely to claim. Surely that's having an impact on payout ratios and whatnot. And younger people, and the other thing about younger people is in their 20s and 30s, they don't think they really need insurance. They're the harder ones to get. They're the ones that are less likely to go out and proactively seek out insurance, whether it's life, TPD, income protection or whatever. So, I mean, I get the regulator, and I'm not being critical of the regulator here, it's not my place to do that, but I think as a community we should be looking at those issues and trying and taking a level of insurer. I mean, it'd be really disappointing if you couldn't get paid out for TPD or income protection because you're mentally ill, because it's a debilitating illness. So I think that's where we should be starting. And I know it's unpopular with government and regulate. Governments don't seem to want to really do anything to deregulate or to try to make advice, even though they love talking about it. But in terms of action, there's really nothing there from what I can see anyway. So yeah, that's my take. And I take what you're all saying about, having to redefine what you're actually covered for. But the competitive nature of the market should kind of take care of a lot of that. I mean, if it's really not commercial to have terms in policies that make payments under certain circumstances, well, the market should sort that out. There's enough insurers in Australia to do that.
You would think so. Right?
You would think so.
But APRA had to intervene on IP. So.
Yeah. Well, they intervened on IP. Whether or not they had to remains to be seen, right? APRA could have looked at other things, right? Some of the
but
things
they haven't at the moment. And you talk about before we come to the reinsurers to continue the conversation. You talked about the market adjusting and fixing itself. Now, there was an intervention with income protection, and people you talk to, you're given to understand that a similar intervention is not likely for TPD.
It's not likely.
And so that leads to the next question to you. Do you think the industry is capable of fixing itself when it comes to TPD? Because it would be a self-regulated solution.
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. What I would say is the industry should be looking at some of the issues I've raised, which is how to get more people buying insurance, how to get more people that aren't going to claim on average for maybe 20 or 25 years to buy more insurance to improve the quality of those pools. Unless what I'm saying is not true or is not what you guys are seeing, because again, I can't see the insurance pools, I see what advisors are doing, and there's other people writing insurance.
Right, so let's
just in relation to the industry being able to fix itself, I think obviously we would, we think that we should be able to do that. I think we've seen steps of manufacturers stepping in the right direction. There's been 2 new TPD products launched in the market over the last 12 months. We hope to see more innovation, more new products in market. I think one of the difficult things will be is how we get advisors and customers from the traditional work-based TPD, and I don't mean, and TPD's got a space in our market, but how we get traction with these new products when it comes to you being comfortable recommending a product that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, that isn't as comprehensive when they still exist in market. And I understand there needs to be a price differential, but maybe we need to think about, back to David's point, that whole disability ecosystem. So it's income protection, it's maybe some occupation-based TPD, and then it's some of these new benefits that now exist to kind of meet customer needs regardless of the situation. I don't think anyone's saying that if you have a mental health condition, you shouldn't have support or cover. It's just up to what extent. Is it total and permanent disablement, or is it something that gets you back on track alongside your income protection benefit?
Oh, certainly access to financial advice is critical for Australians to be getting the right advice at the right time to make sure that they have the life insurance protection they need. We know that the settings aren't right in Australia, which is why at Cali, we've been advocating very firmly with the government about the need to bring in advice reform to make it easier for existing financial advisors to be able to provide advice to their customers, but also to bring in a new class of advisor so that life insurers can play a role in being able to provide advice on our own products and services. That is something that we aren't able to do right now, and it's something where we've got a really laser focus on being able to do. Certainly being able to unlock and have more financial advisors who are advising on risk products in Australia will mean that we can have Australians getting better advice in a more timely way and when they need it. And we see in our own research at Cali that in the absence of advice, people are turning online particularly, and that's concerning because they're turning to things like TikTok and influencers from overseas. So they're not getting